I know it's not you, although Izzy does have questions about how easy you think it is to ice skate. You seem to think that you're going to be somebody who could hockey ice skate in a short period of time. Izzy thinks it's not going to be short. But the problem I have is I got Andrew Hawkins in here, and I got a whole lot of people who really want to talk about football. I got Amin El-Hassan in here. He's got a whole ton of basketball takes, and Jeremy's got a ton of takes too. But I only got one person here who was in the middle of all the football action yesterday and being soothed by the parents of the Notre Dame players in the stands. And I feel like that person needs to be showcased today because she was in the center of what feels like the biggest moments that Notre Dame football has had for national relevance, hope, and belief since they were getting smoked by 40 points in all the championship games that they've played in the last 10 years.
Thank you, Dan. I am pumped. What a game that was last night. What an experience. It's great to have that barn jump in the way that it was.
Wait, but who is it?
You were being soothed because of the amount of tension in your Notre Dame football spirit because you spent that game trailing and scared?
Yes, I would say that's accurate. It was a absolutely batshit college football game. I'm curious what it was like watching it on TV. Like, did it feel as insane and just weird as it did in person?
Yeah. It's a great kind of game because literally every play feeds to this narrative. And for those two programs especially, like for the winner, greatness, for the loser, utter embarrassment. I think less so for Notre Dame when you consider like their injury situation, but teetering along the line the entire game is James Franklin's legacy, and I think it just added. I thought last night was a spectacle. It was a great game, a bit of an old school game, but it really opened up in the second half. It was tremendous drama.
Yeah, tremendous drama. I was crying, screaming, throwing up. It was just the most. I disassociated for the entire halftime show. I don't even know who that guy was, but he was singing a country song. It was.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Yeah, I've never seen that person before in my life. Don't care to see him ever again.
Jessica, let me ask you a question. Have you elevated to known Notre Dame alum? You're not famous Notre Dame alum. Obviously, there's so many famous alums. But are you at least a known Notre Dame alum?
You guys are throwing a lot of subtle shots. Can I say that real quick? Because that was a shot.
It's a question.
It's a shot, though.
I don't know how to answer that, though.
And then Jess was like, I want to know, what was it like watching the game at home? And it was kind of like, that's a flex
tickets?
A little bit, too.
Yeah.
It was a lot different on the sideline,
guys. How am I supposed to answer that? I mean, like, do people come up to me at tailgates and, like, take pictures with me?
Yes.
If I say yes, I sound like a tool. And if I say no, I'm lying.
Whoa. Shit, that was a bar.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chatting the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough when mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I don't think it's a particularly interesting distinction to make today, but very often with games, people say games are great, and what it was is, well, the ending was great. The end of the game was great. Last night's game was fun for a lot of reasons, but I did not have that fourth quarter happening all of a sudden where, when Mike talks about the narratives, James Franklin is now 0-13 in his last 13 games against top 5 teams. He's 4-20 career against top 10 teams, and now in 11 seasons at Penn State, he's 1-15 against top 5 teams. And that one was there for the taking. And I believe that all of us looking at this would say if those teams kept playing, we don't know. That's the arbitrary measurement of the day. But if they kept playing, we don't know who would win if they played 10, 15, 20 times, because we're at the point of the season that if Texas beats Ohio State, you'd be like, yeah. If Ohio State beats Texas, you'd be like, yeah. But I don't think this is an accurate measurement for who's best. It's just an accurate measurement for who wins that particular night. I know it's the measurement we got. I know, but you're going to have a hard time convincing me that Notre Dame is the best team in football after they've lost to Northern Illinois at home during the season.
Wow. Quick max shot out the gate. I'm not going to condone that. But isn't that what you want in the playoffs, though? That you, like, anybody could win on any given night. Is that not the goal?
My preference for all playoffs is find me the best winner, but we have imperfect measurement systems everywhere except basketball.
If I may espouse the virtues of Fighting Irish football in an unlikely scenario for me, no, I think if you play that game 10 times, that was just about the weakest form of Notre Dame when you consider their really bad injury situation. That game was totally there to be had for Penn State, up 10-0. It felt like a 3-score lead with all the momentum. And then Angeli comes in, and they get a crucial field goal.
Field goal drive of the year.
It was massive for that game. And then they start the very next drive, and that Penn State side, which was that stadium was loud last night. It came across on the television. They get the delay a game, and you're thinking, man, Notre Dame is toast. But they compose themselves. They answer right back. You realize this is a tie game. And then we're just playing with James Franklin now. You know that he's going to screw this up. Drew Aller is so friggin' overrated. I can't believe. I don't know if you were watching this game with the sound on. I wish you did. Because right before Drew Aller threw that interception, Greg McElroy said, Drew Aller is not the type of quarterback that's going to throw an interception.
He was like, you should get
spot.
Aggressive in this spot. He's not going to throw an interception. And like 2 plays later, he threw a bone-crushing interception to Christian Gray, which set up Notre Dame to kick the game-winning field goal. Yeah, I mean, what a freaking game. It was awesome. It was so loud on that Penn State side, too, and, like, it seemed like it was actually really bugging Notre Dame and Riley Leonard when the offense was on that side of the field. And, for these bowl games to feel like a college football game, like, that's a tough thing to do in an NFL stadium, and that felt like a real college football game, and it was just an incredible atmosphere and so much fun.
Let me ask you guys a question. How do you feel about fans who overreact in the middle of the game? I get if it's at the end of the game and you just do a big pick six or whatever, like, oh my God. But it's crazy to me, like there was an interception earlier in the fourth quarter, and then they do the crowd shots, and so many people were crushed like their life is over.
I love that about this sport. I love that about this sport because it taps into something like almost primal that the professional sports don't. The tribalism attached to college athletics is the closest thing that we have to European soccer. And I love that it manifests on the face. The surrender cobras in the stands. I think it just provides great drama. Jess is here. That's one of the best Notre Dame feelings that she's ever had, but also throughout that game, probably the worst she's ever felt watching a game.
Yeah, I felt terrible. And like Dan alluded to it in the Shadow Show, but I was in like the Notre Dame parent section, and during the game, I was next to Xavier Watts' family, and like we were right against a railing, and like I had my head like over the railing with my head down. Thanks, I guess. The tickets were nice. Like we weren't in like a suite or anything.
You're in the player family section.
Yeah, Ryan Clark was a few seats away from us too.
Ooh, name drop.
That one's worth it. Yeah. Was he wearing the lapel pin?
Double. You got double.
I was like, hey, I work for the Le Batard Show. I'm a huge fan, but also I'm a Steelers fan, and like you're my hero. And then like an hour later, we were dapping each other up after the Christian Gray interception. But anyways, I mean, to your point, like I was like head bent over, like I can't believe this. Like this team looks so gassed. They haven't played like this all season long. Like just bad in the trenches in a way that I haven't seen. And like Mike mentioned, like losing 2 linemen in the first half is brutal. The defensive line is completely decimated. There's 3 starters out just on the line, and Howard Cross is playing with one leg. Jeremiah Love's playing with one leg. It still scores that touchdown somehow. That's
an
2-yard
iconic
run.
moment. That run from Jeremiah Love with the brace on his leg to battle through. And Abdul Carter was the best player on that field. And he's one of the players that slip off Jeremiah Love in there, who's giving it his all, like a heroic effort. That was just such a great game.
Like the second half, like I'm bent over in pain. Like I can't look at the field. And the players' families literally. One of the players' like moms is rubbing my back. She's like, "It's gonna be okay. Like, we got this. We're gonna win. It's okay. We got this." And I was like, I can't even watch.
One of the things we're always talking about around here in sports is, was it fun? Because if you'd lost that game by a field goal, you'd come in here today and say that's one of the worst experiences of my life.
She'd come in?
If she came in, she would say she'd feel hungover and she'd feel terrible. She'd have trouble sleeping. But the experience is the same in both instances. It's just the ending. So did you have fun? Like, did you actually have fun to be in pain and feel like you're vomiting all game?
I had so much fun. First of all, tailgate lots didn't open until 2:30. Orange Bowl, figure it out. That's bad. From 2:30 until kickoff at like 7:30, I had the time of my life. And then from 7:30 until like 11:30, I was in a bad, dark place. Do not read my text message thread with Mike Golick Jr. I am going to burn that. No one should ever see the things that I said. No, I mean, I think that like in a lot of ways, this season was a success for Notre Dame, no matter whether or not they had won last night. They beat Georgia last week in the Sugar Bowl. They broke the New Year's Six Sugar Bowl game, or the New Year's Six bowl game losing streak. They had a 13-win season. Like, they beat Indiana in the first round. Like, it's a really good season for Notre Dame. But obviously, you want to win a championship, and you want to win the game that's in front of you. And it was excruciating watching that team with all of the injuries like they have, especially in the trenches where they've been so solid this season, and on defense where their defense has been pushing around other teams all season. It just was a hard game to watch because I know that this team is better than that. And I think a ton of credit has to be given to Penn State because they looked like the more organized team for a lot of that game. They were able to put pressure on Notre Dame, and they were able to really maintain that level of dominance in the lines that Notre Dame did to Georgia 7 days ago. So yeah, it was painful to watch because I know this team is honestly like they're better than that, and I'm super happy they won. Totally like a toss-up outcome given where the game was at in the fourth quarter. But regardless, I was like trying to maintain some perspective on the season while watching my soul get crushed, and then like by the grace of God and Marcus Freeman, they somehow came back and won that game and put together two really competent quarters, even though Riley Leonard threw like a awful interception and was out for a series in the first half. Like, it was brutal to watch, but the release of tension after the game, going into the tailgate lot for like an hour afterwards and seeing all my friends there and family members and friends' parents, like seeing Mitch Jeter's dad walked by and I gave him a "yeah, Jeets." It was awesome and like made up for all of the stress of the previous 4 hours.
I was in a suite at the game.
Wow.
No.
You
You guys don't just get the button. No.
Come
We
on,
don't request the button.
I tried to earn the
We
button.
We do not
I was
say
waiting.
things. No, this is not how
I was
this
sitting
works.
on that
No.
so I could get the button.
I was in a suite last
wants the
night.
button.
Is everyone
Give it to me.
in Miami? You don't get the button when you request the button. You were in a suite last night, and what?
The whole stadium is suites,
Okay.
by the way.
Yeah, it's a lot of
ridiculous.
suites. I got them. It's a shared suite. I got it on like
It's going to get more and more pathetic as we go.
shared
I was
suite.
in the
Like a-
bathroom. I was watching on the
like a
television in the
StubHub
bathroom.
of suites, and anybody can buy a ticket in this suite. So the point is, it was a mixed bag in this suite, and we had Penn State people who were super passionate. We had the front row of the suite, all Notre Dame guys, and all games something happens with Notre Dame, they go ballistic. Something happens with Penn State, they go crazy, and it was all good. They're like, "Who are you rooting for?" I'm like, "I could care less." Yep. I went to Toledo, okay? So we're sitting there, and everything's all love. We're buying group food because the food doesn't come with the shared suite. You got to buy it bespoke, and then it's like a bunch. It's expensive.
And you have
It's
to buy like a Caesar salad, and it's like $85. But it's
no,
like
it's
feeds
not.
10
I
or
wish
something.
it would
How
exactly.
do you break that down
It's
with
like,
strangers?
It's like wings are $230.
I've been in that. I was in that suite like that for the Miami
You
Open
can't
final.
buy single food. So it's like, I
It's so
paid for
weird.
it, but everyone gets to eat. So everyone kind of ordered their thing. I ordered, I think, a shrimp cocktail, which was like $300, but I had to contribute. They had already taken the hot dogs and all the cheaper options. I was pissed. But anyway, the shrimp cocktail's there. Everyone's having a good time. The moment Aller threw that last pick, the Notre Dame folks go crazy, right? All of a sudden, all the fun-loving, we're all in
Kumbaya.
this. Football is great. Out the window. Guy in the back is like, hey, you got people back here trying to watch the game.
Nah.
Oh, is this what it is? It's the half. It's time out. The game's not going on. I'm like, okay, come on, son. It's time to go. Let's get out of here.
I did see like a lot of the Penn State fans were super locked in, really loud, like really fun. They were so excited. I have nothing bad to say about them. But after the game, like to your point, when you're in the bad place, I saw so many Penn State fans like arguing with each other walking out of the stadium. And I was like, man, I've been there.
It got tense quick. I also feel like there was more
there.
Penn State fans than Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, I think it was probably like 60-40 Penn State Notre Dame.
It was a lot.
It was a lot of Penn State
Juju,
fans, for
put
sure.
it up on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you say I could care less or I could not care less? Which is it that you say? And also, I want you guys to notice why it is that I have the exclusive domain over this particular Look at Me, Louie, and how successful I was in correctly governing its standard. That suite got shittier and shittier as he talked. Like that's sweet.
Hindsight, you had the right call.
Like him just saying it's a suite and just throwing it out there
I tried to pause.
as if that's supposed to impress us, and then it becomes fans of both kinds. That's a disaster, by the way. That is not what you want in your suite. You do not want fans of both kinds.
Kind of what you want if you were neutral, though.
No.
That seems pretty fun.
It was a lot. It was 2 games going on.
Yeah.
There was so much entertainment.
Wait,
I
have a question. But you grew up in Johnstown, so you don't
did.
have any Penn State or Pitt. You're not on either side of the Penn State Pitt thing because you're kind of
Yeah.
like closer to Pittsburgh, right? But
I'm literally
in
right.
between
It's an
the
hour
two.
and a half to State College. It's an hour and a half to Pittsburgh. And my nephew played football at Penn State. He's an alumni. I probably go more Penn State than Pitt. My little brother played football
And Toledo
at Pitt.
just beat Pitt
My
in the
dad
bowl
played
game,
football
obviously,
at Pitt.
so.
And I'm just kind of – they didn't recruit me either way, so I'm kind of like, the hell
I'm
with
just-
everybody.
I'm just surprised because like Western PA is and Central PA. Like
Yeah,
if you're,
no,
if you're
I'm
Pitt,
literally
you
in the
hate
middle.
Penn State. If you're Penn State, you hate Pitt. And I feel like there's not a lot of people stuck.
I didn't have a
that.
chance to
The
play for
only
either.
point that matters is that the suite was shitty.
No, I mean, it wasn't great.
Look, the Caesar salad you just described made me sad. It was expensive. The
Yeah.
fact that you didn't have your own food, shared food with the group, that's not opulence. That ain't opulence.
Shrimp
It wasn't
cocktail.
great.
It ain't-
wasn't
Can I
great.
tell you about the food and the non-sweet? Because Lehman and I got a tray of nachos around the third quarter, and he bit into the queso, and there was a little piece, like a shard of plastic in it
Oh,
that he
man.
almost broke
Yeah.
his tooth on. And then, like, the next drive was the Angeli field goal drive, and then Notre Dame scored a touchdown right after. Like Notre Dame dominated the middle late this season, by the way. But we saved the little piece of plastic because everything changed. Everything changed after we saved
keepsake?
the plastic.
Wow.
Taffer would have lost his mind. You're gonna freaking kill somebody.
A superstitious piece of plastic in your nachos.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to revisit the Penn State of it all briefly because an expanded CFP is supposed to mitigate a team getting there kind of with a lucky path. But if you've watched these games, and I caught a little bit of BS from some Penn State fans online, but those that actually watched that game, I'm serious. I know it was a blowout against SMU. Penn State's offense stunk in that game. That game was there for the taking for SMU. And similarly, a little less so, but Boise State had its opportunities, and I didn't come away with Penn State, despite them kind of shifting a narrative a little bit. Look, James Franklin won 2 big games. College football playoff games are supposed to be big games, but when you watch those games and you consider the opponents and all the questions that you had about them, we're waiting for him to have a big one. And they go up 10-0, and I realize how many crucial injuries Notre Dame have, and I'm like, are they going to do this? Are they going to have good fortune all the way to a CFP final? And are they going to need this much luck to change this narrative? Because they also looked really good. They looked like they had NFL body types.
Well, let me ask these questions, okay? Because you're telling me about the decimation along the injury fronts for Notre Dame, but Penn State and Ohio State have been teams that are very good will be really physical with you at the goal line. In the most basic form, Ohio State has a million different advantages, payment and otherwise. But when football becomes the barbaric, primitive thing of who's stronger down there, Ohio State's roster wins and Penn State's roster wins. The part that you're bringing up, though, that I want to address is this moving line on what big games are. Because the first 2 that Franklin won people were saying, okay, this changes the narrative. And the moment he loses, the narrative is right back, and it's forever. Like, this narrative goes right back to can't beat the top 5 teams. Yeah, SMU, yeah, Boise State, but what were big games? You were telling me two weeks ago, big game. James Franklin, changing. Not now. It ended with the loss against the top 5 team. What changed other than they allowed more teams that shouldn't have been in the playoffs in the playoffs?
Well, I think people were already saying that about James Franklin even after the SMU and Boise games, like regardless of I think the path that Penn State got, they earned through the regular season. They made it to the Big Ten championship. They lost to Oregon, obviously, but they absolutely, we're not going to do the whole did they belong to be their thing. But yes, their path
just to help you out, if this were not expanded, they would have been in the CFP. They would have made it over Ohio State.
I don't think that's true because they would have had 2 losses.
Well, they lost in the
conference.
Playoff. Fair enough. But they would have been over what is now on the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. They would have been over Ohio State.
Yeah, I think that's probably maybe true. I don't know. Losing the conference championship game, I think, would have kept them out of the top 4 because they would have had a loss to Ohio State and to Oregon. I don't think they would have made a Final Four. But whatever. Besides the point, the difference, Dan, is that now in the last 3 weeks, Marcus Freeman is a 3rd-year head coach. He has won 2 top 5 games in 8 days, and James Franklin has won 1 in the last 10 years. So
11, 1 in 15 in the last 11 seasons.
And I guess that context helps, and that's kind of what my question is. I didn't watch that game and feel like, Penn State was a bad team that shouldn't be there. That
Not
wasn't
at all.
it.
Oh, they would have lost to Bama by 40. That's what you're supposed to do.
And so even like you just said, if Marcus Freeman and his team loses, it's still a successful season for Notre Dame. I would hate the fact that Penn State ended up on the bad side of that loss to be like, oh, now what a terrible ending. Yeah, I guess context matters over the years, but they got really close there. And closer than Penn State teams have come in a very long time.
If I may, just to fuel this James Franklin narrative, they had really good fortune leading up to this point, and their good fortune continued with Notre Dame's injuries, and also they almost made it to a college football playoff final, having won a semifinal game without completing a pass to a wide receiver. Did you see what happened on that field goal? Did you see the 2 guys way in the back that weren't at the line of scrimmage to block the go-ahead field goal? What were they doing? There's plenty of stuff to pick apart. The call, why is Drew Aller throwing in the middle of the field in that scenario?
He's a first-round pick.
Well, that's another thing. Let me tell you something. He's 6'5" and white and from middle America. I understand why people like this guy.
Checks all the boxes.
This dude stinks. He may get there, but this season they didn't ask any. You want to talk counting stats 50 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
Yeah,
I don't trust that guy at all. Haven't. That dude threw 3 picks. Now 2 of them rightful calls. I understand, but they were bailouts.
Not the second one. First one was the hold, I think, on Christian Gray in the first half. Yeah, fine. The second one, the pass interference that they called on Watts was supposed to be on Adon Schuler. That was the classic underthrown DPI bailout play where everyone's saying, oh, you have to turn around and look at the ball. No, you don't. That's not the rule. Everyone that says that doesn't understand pass interference, and they got completely bailed out by a terribly thrown football into triple coverage in the end zone.
Letter of the law, the official even in the booth said it was a right call. I'm with you.
I disagree.
It was a bad decision, a worse throw. Warren wasn't afforded the opportunity to make the play as he was being face guarded, but whatever. It just continued that I don't trust Drew Aller at all here. And in that late game situation, he makes a terrible decision. I don't see it at all with him. I understand why execs fall in love with the measurables, but this dude, to me, is a stiff.
I went there scouting Drew Aller as a Browns fan he's from Cleveland. And I saw all the hype videos online with him growing up in Browns gear, and I'm like, we might have something here. Let me go get the best suite that I can find in Hard Rock Stadium, so I got a bird's eye view exactly of what we
what
can
yard
get.
line were you on?
We were on the 50.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
It's getting better.
Come on.
Wait,
It's a shrimp cocktail.
were there any Orange Bowl committee members in your suite with the orange jackets?
Come on, man.
Mark my words. I will wear that orange blazer one day.
There were.
Dude, fight me for it.
I was in 2
Fight
suites.
me for it.
I was in 2 suites throughout the game.
You wait two
Two
sweets.
sweets.
Wait, two sweets.
In
can't do
the
that.
first suite, there was
Quickly, Dan.
about 5 orange jackets in there.
You know what? He is holding his arm out here
Come
to
on.
get the look at me,
I've
Louis.
earned this.
Which I'm not going to press. However, I will say that you continue to make me someone who gets more and more influenced and manipulated by you. Because every time you point, for some reason, the waft of your cologne is bringing a really lovely scent through here
It
is
reeks of mahogany.
It's disorienting me. I don't even know what to do with it. It smells like
Like
a
luxury.
like a nice nightclub,
Dan,
like a really fun nightclub.
Man, it smells like Look at Me Louie is what it smells like.
And here's the crazy thing. It's just sweat.
That is not true. That is not
Wait,
true.
Hawk, I have to ask,
That is
while we're
not-
talking about the Orange Bowl committee members, were you there pregame when Brady Quinn was giving like a plaque to Urban Meyer and they announced Urban Meyer on the speaker and he was on the Jumbotron? The entire stadium was booing and they were trying to use Brady Quinn as like a meat shield so people like the Notre Dame fans wouldn't boo. But that was the loudest the stadium was the
got
entire
really
game.
loud.
Everyone came together and booed Urban Meyer on the field during pregame. It was crazy.
Can you give me, please, the sound of Greg McElroy doing the announcer jinx thing, please?
How do they play it with 47 seconds to go? Are you aggressive or are you cautious?
I'm aggressive. I mean, I got 2 timeouts. I feel like the momentum's been back and forth. The quarterback, for the most part, all season long, his whole career, Drew Aller's made good decisions. He's got 50-plus touchdowns, only 9 career interceptions. He's not likely a guy that's going to put the ball in harm's way. I trust him. I think he can do it. And I would empower him in this situation to drive him down the field for a game-winning field goal.
If I may,
Come on, man.
Greg McElroy knows college ball almost better than anybody I know. I listen to his podcast weekly, and as he was saying it,
at
I
me,
was
Louie.
mortified.
What did he do wrong?
Because
I
Drew
listen
Aller-
to Greg McElroy's
He's
podcast
great.
weekly as a Look at Me Louie
he's
situation.
great. He's great. I
We
watch
did
his
not-
broadcast.
he- listening to Greg McElroy's podcast
He's great.
earned a Look at Me, Louie?
Routinely.
Are you
Weekly.
out of your damn mind?
You're just not going to get it. It's just not your day, pal.
I drove a Maybach here.
I think it's racially biased.
Whoa!
I think the Look at Me Louie might be racially
I was
biased.
mortified. Drew Aller doesn't have that TD to interception ratio because he's particularly good. I'm just gonna say I've watched a lot of him. I think he's fortunate, and they don't ask a lot from him. They hide him. They have really good weapons, particularly in that backfield, and Warren is like a unicorn that was probably concussed. I think both tight end ones were playing the majority of that game with a concussion. And he's just not someone that I would trust. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't trust his
don't like it.
decision making. Quite frankly, I don't trust his accuracy. Earlier in that game is actually probably over if he makes a routine NFL throw. He has his running back wide open in the flats at that goal line, and he puts a ball like right at the inside knee.
Not wrong.
That is a throw. If you're talked about as a top 5 pick,
You gotta nail
you
that.
gotta make that throw.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I'm not kidding. I went into this game hoping that he crushed it, and then the Browns at 2 could convince him to come out. We trade down to 6. We get an extra first-round pick, and we still get our quarterback. When I watched his all-22 tape, and I'm going to get real football here, but when I watch his all-22,
Look at me, Louie.
yes!
You got it.
All right. Congratulations.
In my Maybach.
Thank goodness.
Thank you.
I'm stunned that we're the show that gives a Look at Me Louie to when I watch the All 22 and not I drove a Maybach in here.
Wow, I'd like to thank my parents. I'd like to thank my best combo, God and Marcus Freeman.
I love them so much.
I would like to thank the Academy. So many people I'm forgetting. I
Mario
didn't
Van
expect
Peebles,
to
who
win
is a
this.
very dear friend.
Yes.
This is Andrew Hawkins' 7th nomination and first win.
LeAngelo Ball,
Speak
LeVar Ball.
Speak to the all 22. I need
I might
your
swerve,
dates.
bend that corner. Whoa. Yeah, we're going to do it. Who else here? Just so many people. I plan to be back here. I couldn't do this without you guys. This is just the beginning. Thank you.
As someone that still has a framed picture of Brady Quinn as a 4-year-old wearing a Cleveland Browns uniform,
not in it.
I understand what it means to have someone who grew up as a Browns fan be a quarterback prospect that might possibly save your franchise. So I totally have with the idea of you just crunching all 22 to see if you could talk yourself into this guy.
Yeah, I was in there. And even in his best plays, and this is where the SMU and the Boise State stuff come into play, because he had some big throws there, but even in those, it was like the receivers are slowing down just a tick. And I was telling my son, who was a big Cam Ward fan, like we talked about, he's like, I think it's Cam Ward. I'm like, this guy, but he's 6'5", and as you keep watching, he's having trouble getting to third reads. In the NFL, you have to be able to come across the field and say, okay, this isn't here. Can I go here and still make a throw? And when you watch this game, all those things came into play. On the pass interferences, he did get bailed out. Those were bad balls. They were late throws, and they were hung up in the air, which helped him in those situations, but those should have been touchdowns. Also, on the goal line to the running back, you have to put that out in front of him because he has to maintain speed. Even if he catches that by his knee, you're allowing the defender a chance to come up and make that stop.
I was going to ask you about that play because it was like, man, what a terrible drop. He's wide open. But when I haven't gone back and watched the tape yet, obviously, because I got home at like 2 a.m. last night.
You didn't watch the all 22?
Not yet. I'm literally, the minute I get home, I will be watching the all 22. I'm so excited. And then I will watch the game broadcast, and then I will take a 13-hour nap. But I thought also it looked like it was thrown low and behind. So was that also what you saw?
Absolutely. So you're slowing the running back down. And in that moment, where there's such a thin margin of error, if you're the arm talent that you should be, regardless of what your drop looks like, what foot drop, he throws a lot of passes falling away, but that means you have to have the arm to still put it in the spots that you want, to your point about the accuracy. And then when I'm looking for you to say, okay, this isn't here on the front side, can I get to a third read, scan across the field, and make a throw? That's literally how the last interception was thrown, because you're falling away. You try to get to the third read, and you can't place it. Those are issues.
When I spoke of the tension that we have in here between the number of people who want to talk football and the number of people who want to talk basketball, because I've watched Jeremy. Jeremy's here. For those of you in the audio audience who have not heard from Jeremy yet today, Jeremy, I've seen in his eyes over there, he's thinking about that 97-92 Miami Heat Utah Jazz game from last night that set the game back.
No matter how many turnovers you have in the fourth quarter, you love watching young stars in their first big moments. Hey, play through mistakes. Come up big at the end of games. That's why Jazz Heat was so special last night.
Yeah, young stars like Terry Rozier, who's
not him.
11 for his last 62, 4 for his last 32, and everything that Mike Ryan hated about that acquisition has been on display over his 30% shooting over the last bit here. Where do you land, Amin? Because this has been a frustrating, it's been a complicated and difficult week for me as somebody who's trying to be fair, objective, and critical, to have people who I have relationships with, admire, trust, believe are better at their jobs than I am at my job, or that anybody criticizing them is at their job, but also can see in the standings and everything else that the Miami Heat are presiding over punctuation calamity with Jimmy Butler in a way that it cannot be argued that they've handled the end of this well. I don't hear anyone arguing that this is being handled well, but the Heat is under more criticism, I would say, than just about any time I've seen that wasn't Whiteside and Dion Waiters, or, that one season where Alonzo Mourning, his kidney failed, and then all of a sudden Pat Riley's coaching a team that, won 20 games or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that when you look at decisions and things, situations, people often react to what's happening in the moment. Oh, they suspended him. Oh, you messed that up. You did it wrong. The reality is the thing you should have done is typically something months ago. It's an accumulation of forks in the road, and you take the one you probably shouldn't have taken, and then you arrive at this point where it's like there are no other options left. And so I don't look at Miami suspending him for 7 games as, oh, my God, you guys totally mishandled that. Now, the mishandling happened months ago when you knew he wanted a new contract, when you knew you didn't want to give him a new contract, or the number was very far apart. That's when you start exploring other options so that you don't get to this point right here. By the way, the 7 games thing, I talk about this all the time from a league perspective, from the commissioner perspective. Whenever guys do things, sometimes you hit them with a suspension that's not going to hold up in a court of law. When John Morant was going through his stuff, I said, hit him with like a 40-game suspension out the gate. Let the union appeal it. Let them, okay, it's not a 40, it comes down to 8 or whatever it is. But the idea is you send the message, right? Stern would do this all the time. He would hit him with a punishment that was constitutionally incorrect. It was unconstitutional. He knew it was going to get rescinded or brought back down in arbitration. But the idea is you send the message. We don't do that shit over here. And that's what the Heat did when they hit him with the 7 games. That's ridiculous. That's a 7-game suspension.
Okay, but you say this, and all of it leads to I don't see, and maybe I have this wrong. I don't see the avenue by which the Miami Heat gets what it wants over Jimmy Butler getting whatever it is that he wants. And so now I ask you guys to do something where you analyze this information. Kendrick Perkins is not an information guy, and I don't know if anyone is making these distinctions. I don't know if anyone cares to make these distinctions as to how they get their information. I haven't heard what Kendrick Perkins is saying here from anybody, but Kendrick Perkins is saying, and this makes sense, Phoenix win now. Phoenix wants to get whatever they can get for right now to put it next to Jimmy Butler. Here's Kendrick Perkins saying, Jimmy Butler is going to head to Phoenix. The contract parameters are set up.
It's about money, right? And from my sources, they're telling me that the Suns have a 2-year, $121 million extension waiting on Jimmy. Okay? I believe it. All right. I mean, I ain't no genius, but that's like 60 a year, okay?
Woo, somebody is drunk over there.
Hold on. Keep it cool, booty. All right. Here's the next thing. Okay? It's about relationships. And the relationship is Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. Ooh. Now, I told you this about 2 weeks ago when we made this bet that not only do Phoenix, yes, the organization, they want him. You know why? Because Kevin Durant wants Jimmy Butler. And if he does get Jimmy Butler, which I believe he will, they're both going to sign contract extensions. KD is going to sign as well.
Booker, Durant, Butler is better than Booker, Durant, Beal. What do you do with that information?
First of all, for the audio audience, what I was laughing at, because you couldn't see the video was Channing Frye, as he's saying, oh, someone's drunk over there. He's tossing a ball of it, like, very nonchalantly. It's almost like he's not paying attention to the conversation. They're like half-assing it. It's my guy, Channing Frye. But that information is exactly where we thought all of this was headed. A, Jimmy Butler wants his money. B, you're in a tough spot. C, who's a team that's desperate enough to do this? D, what does that desperation look like? And then E, it's a superstar saying, I want him here. The cosign is pretty strong. And, when it comes from Kendrick Perkins, people like to clown Perk and make fun of him and his country accent, and he gives hot takes. But when he says information like that, you better listen, because that dude knows people. He talks to people. He works his ass off on the back end in a way that I don't think many people understand or appreciate.
I just haven't heard the information guys say that, and I expect the information guys to have that information. I don't expect Kendrick Perkins to ever have information the information guys aren't reporting.
Dan, that's the thing that you're making a mistake there. You're assuming because they didn't report it, they don't have the information. And as a guy who's done this for a living, that's not always the case. Sometimes you have the information, but it's not corroborated. Sometimes you have the information, but your source is telling you, I can't let you run with this yet. And so it doesn't mean nobody else had it. It just means that Kendrick Perkins doesn't have the restrictions of revealing something like that.
And when you see the Chris Haynes report a couple of days ago that says the Memphis Grizzlies and some other teams have been told not to trade for Jimmy Butler, that's not necessarily to say that if they traded for Jimmy that he wouldn't report and would make a whole mess of everything. But the reason that's happening is he wants to be in Phoenix or another place that will give him that extension. And so the reporting has to be sort of around that.
Kendrick Perkins obviously famously played with Kevin Durant. One of my favorite interview moments was asking Scott Brooks during those finals, OKC against Miami, why do you keep starting Kendrick Perkins? And he gave me how good their record was when Kendrick Perkins started. And I said, imagine how good it would be if he wasn't starting. It would be even better than that. He's got a relationship with Kevin Durant that I do believe people listening to this who care about the transaction need to monitor, because since leaving Golden State, next to nothing has gone right for whatever it is that Kevin Durant wants from this is the ending of his career. Whittingham had an exceptional take in which he said, if we replay the entire career of Kevin Durant entirely over again, this is about as badly as it could have gone in terms of how it is you're going to be remembered by people as one of the greatest scorers of all time. And I would assume that if Phoenix was in such wind now that they took Bradley Beal's contract a while ago, that they would be by far and away, given who their owner is and given who Kevin Durant is, I would assume that they would be the favorite in every situation.
That's the mark. You know where the mark is, and it's them.
That's the stalking horse, right? On everything. But I
look at it as a stalking horse. I look at it as the patsy. That's who we're going for.
I just believe that you found yourself in a fairly remarkable situation after what happened with the Heat and Dame Lillard, where Damian Lillard becomes the first entity to make a mess and not get what he wants, that we go right back to, what do you mean Jimmy Butler dictates all the terms? What do you mean he can tell Memphis, don't trade for me? What do you mean that he gets to dictate to Pat Riley? You're not going to send me even for a month to a city that I don't want to go to. That's crazy. Am I wrong about that? That we've gone right back to showing Damian Lillard again, hey, the only way to do this is to actually maximize the public exertion of your power. But if you publicly exert your power, you will be able to topple even Pat Riley. You think this is where he ends up? You think that Jimmy Butler wants to end up in Phoenix, and therefore Amin Elhassan is saying he's going to end up in Phoenix?
I think there's a high likelihood that if he leaves Miami, Phoenix is going to be the destination.
If he leaves Miami.
Say it. Give me the take. What's the take?
The take is there's a high likelihood if he leaves Miami, he ends up in Phoenix.
Yeah, you just said the same thing.
I know, but I said it with take voice.
I like Jeremy's
Give
subtle.
me Stephen A. voice.
If he
Make me
leaves
believe it.
Miami. If he leaves Miami is an interesting scenario, because I guess that's a possibility too. Well, we're just stuck with one another.
Wouldn't it be the most Jimmy Butler thing ever to not get traded and then end up having a phenomenal season that takes the Heat to like the conference finals or the finals?
I just don't
think
think the escalations has stopped yet. Like if you think Jimmy Butler's going to be here in February, you have not paid attention to the escalations that are coming, because this is going to keep getting worse.
But Dan, haven't they kind of for a little bit? Like the NBA PA came out with their statement. Jimmy Butler's been relatively quiet. He's posted, some like emo IG stories, but he's also posted himself at the Heat's facility working with coaches. Coaches did not make that road trip. They stayed back to work with Jimmy, which I found really surprising.
A couple of coaches, not
but coaches that travel.
Yeah,
LeBron travels.
Guys who are typically on the bench and are part of the traveling party were there, including some other people.
Wait, so what's going on with Jimmy Butler this week?
I think it's going to keep getting worse.
The Venmo bucket is presented by Venmo, and guys, we got a problem because Venmo presented a very real and good solution to our issue, which was people squirming out of this studio saying, I don't have cash. When you don't have cash, you turn to Venmo. It's great. However, Greg Cody has cheated the system because he owes a $10 fine from yesterday for his phone going off, and he just claimed that he was too old to figure Venmo out. When Venmo is super simple, we have to nip this in the bud before everyone starts pretending they don't know how to use Venmo because he owes $10. That is a pending balance.
I thought it was like $17.
No, we talked
we
about
waived
it.
the first one.
We waived it. It was a Thursday. He's sick. But his phone definitely went off, and we can't let that slide. We decided we're not going to double the fine like we normally would on a Tuesday because it was a Thursday. He owes $10. And Dan, it's on you to make sure you bring order to this thing because we brought Venmo to the table. They gave us a solution, and yet the same culture exists.
Dan, I also want to point out, I think Greg Cody is lying. I think he absolutely knows how to use Venmo. You know why? Because Venmo is so easy. Even my parents use Venmo. It's the easiest thing in the world. So I think Greg Cody's using his age as a shield. So that we're like, oh, it's bumbling old Greg Cody. Doesn't know how to use technology. Sorry, this is the easiest app to use, Venmo. Open it up, send the money, boom, done.
Jeremiah, I love what you did there. Just product placement, sponsorship. I love what you did there. And I wanted to talk about Jeremiah Love, and I wanted to talk about that run that I believe to be the greatest 5-yard run in the history of Notre Dame football. And I want to talk with the experts in here about the surprising strength of athletes, and in the case of Andrew Hawkins, the worst you've ever been embarrassed on film, because if we can get the slow motion Jeremiah Love play, I want you guys to see here what happens to, I think his name is Zaki Wheatley for Penn State, where he has the body angle on collision that you have to make this stop at the goal line because of Jeremiah Love and where his body is positioned there. He's got to be stopped because he doesn't have any momentum, but his lower body strength, not unlike Jalen Hurts's, not unlike Saquon Barkley's, his lower body strength is a thing to behold there. I don't think, Amin, that most people have any earthly idea how physically strong James Harden and Kawhi Leonard are, for example, two people. You rarely see something like this where a feat of strength not by Derrick Henry is something that you can see, and you can speak to this, Hawk. That there should have been stopped on the goal line by anybody playing defense for Penn State who hits that collision, unless your lower body strength simply has nothing for what it's meeting.
It's a damn good run, Dan.
Well,
it's bad football.
Look.
Can I say that? It's bad football.
I think
he
it's
comes
great
in with
football.
his chest high up in the air and hits him as high as you can. Physics will tell you the low man wins. You get your body in an angle to be able to combat the drive and force he naturally has because he is driving his legs. So as number 6 comes in, this is his tackle to make. He comes completely standing straight up where you lose all leverage with your chest. Incredible run. It's bad football as well.
It's bad football by number 6, but it's not bad football on the initial contact. It is great football because check out this initial contact. Mind you, Jeremiah Love enters this game with a knee injury. He decided to play that first half without a knee brace. He jumps up in the air. You want to say low man wins?
That's
low
great
man
football.
got him right there.
Yes.
That is about 270 pounds of force that is landing entirely on that injured leg, and he somehow maintains his balance and then recovers enough to be like, now I'm going to be the low man, and I'm going to win. Unreal football.
What about 29?
Yeah,
29
and
tried
then
his
two
best.
more players come in and try to tackle him low, and
It's
he still
incredible.
goes
If I
over
rank
them
the
for
football, let me
touchdown.
rank the football. Ball carrier, incredible football. Number 1, it's great. And second best football on the play, the first tackler coming in. You get low, you go at the thigh board. He makes an incredible hurdling play. The next 3 Penn State players, bad football. Wow. 6 comes with his chest, loses all of his leverage. 11 comes and tries to strip the ball instead of making the short tackle, bad football. And number 29 just throws his body in there without wrapping up. All of you, if this is Little League football, get your asses on the bench. We don't put that on film.
I'll also say one thing about Jeremiah Love is that after the first contact, not number 6, right there, he the ability to make the hurdle, even though that was a small hurdle, make that hurdle and maintain his balance is something he's done this entire season. He's done it in almost every game. He's able to get in the air, come down on an injured knee, and one healthy knee and one injured knee, maintain his balance and still have the force to keep moving forward. That is a player who's done that this entire football season. He scored a touchdown in every single game except for the Sugar Bowl, where he was definitely feeling that injury. And he's an incredible player. He'll be back next season. He's only a sophomore. He's just so talented, and one of the many reasons why Notre Dame is in the position they are to play for a national championship. Jeremiah Love should get so much credit for that touchdown run. It was just so gutsy. And, that's just how the team played this entire game, this Notre Dame team. I think Marcus Freeman deserves all of the credit today because, like you said, Mike, it was 10-3 going into the half. It felt like it could have been 30-0 the way that Penn State was playing.
They were dominating.
And Notre Dame didn't tuck their tail between their legs and say, man, we're hurt, we're gassed, we had to play 7 days ago, we're gonna give in, we're gonna give up, we just don't have the juice tonight. They fought through a really substantially just bad football game and were able to stay in it and match Penn State touchdown to touchdown until the end of the game. That's coaching. There was a lot of coordinator battling going on last night between Al Golden and Kotelnicki, the Penn State play caller, who's had a really good season, I think, with Penn State's offense. I think Tyler Warren is as advertised. He's a spectacular player.
Great player.
Completely opens up that offense. But, Notre Dame didn't give up. It sounds corny and cliche to say.
I hate it. I hate
but
it as
it's
analysis.
True.
I hate
it's
it as analysis.
It's 100% true. I've watched Brian
Kelly.
Kelly. I watched Brian Kelly lose some of these games
okay,
before,
but,
and I think
all right,
when it comes to Brian Kelly, I think that the James Franklin, Brian Kelly conversation is a similar one where they're both great football coaches. I don't think anyone can say with a straight face that they're not. And James Franklin's put a tremendous amount of top talent in the NFL. He's won so many games. You can't just write off winning 10, 11-win seasons. You can't write that off. He's a great, great football coach. It sucks that they are once again on the wrong side of a close game against a top 5 team.
I don't think a lot of people would say that's a great, great football coach. That record does not ever belong to a great, great football coach.
No, he obviously is.
He did it at Vanderbilt.
He's a great football coach. You can't say he's not a great football coach. I'm sorry. You can say he's not a championship caliber
I'm
football
saying
coach.
that we've never described someone
I don't
who's
want to defend James Franklin, by the
0-13
way. I don't like
against
this.
top 5 teams.
I don't like defending
as a
him.
great,
I'm just
great
saying
football
he
coach.
is a great football coach.
Jess, you gave
Marcus
him 2
Freeman
greats.
might be better.
2 greats?
Jess, you gave him 2 greats,
greats?
Jess. You gave him 2 greats, and you're in the rah-rah spirit of my team never gives up, and it just makes you a little
Jess
crazy.
is on such a football high. I got a contact high by listening to her just
Thank you.
she is so on a football high right now.
Man,
it's earned. I'm happy.
I'm telling you, Dan, I've watched.
I can't remember the last time I was on such a football high.
Probably the Toledo Bowl game a week ago.
That was electric.
No,
so
I was on a football
awesome.
high there. That wasn't.
I was on a football high after
Come
that.
Come on.
Narduzzi, learn the overtime rules, buddy.
Honestly.
No, look, I know it sounds corny. I don't give a shit. I've watched this football team my entire life, Dan. This is the best coached Notre Dame football team I've seen in my life. Marcus Freeman deserves all of the credit for everything he's done for this team. I think the coordinators, Denbrock and Golden, deserve credit. Biaggi, the special teams coordinator, deserves a ton of credit.
This isn't an acceptance
Marcus,
speech.
no,
that's
it
fine.
is.
Yes, everyone deserves a lot of credit.
That's literally what it is. The special teams coordinator got them.
She's
to
bragging
jump
about her
offside
team for
in
15
the Georgia
minutes.
Sugar Bowl game.
She just loves that sound.
It would only be a look at me, Louis, if she said, my good friend Marcus Freeman is the best coach I've seen in my life.
The Golden,
my team is so great.
Dan, what do you make of the Al Golden thing? Because, that...
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, rambling.
I need to get the Notre Dame spirit out of here for just 2 minutes.
No, I was at the Orange Bowl. I'm staying in that.
So Lucy was also
I got 4
at the
hours of
Orange
sleep
Bowl.
last night.
Throw it to the Lucy
I didn't
video.
Get up at
I want to
7
hear
a.m.
from
for you to
Lucy.
kick me out.
Lucy was also at the game. Let's hear from Lucy.
If Notre Dame loses, I'm going to be on suicide watch tomorrow. But if they win tonight, I'm going to fall in love with a stripper in Miami. And it's going to be awesome.
Hey Dan, welcome to Off Rose, and I am Rose, if you didn't know, at the Tazón de la Naranja, the Orange Bowl, where Penn State and the Irish are playing.
Gets pepper sprayed one time, thinks she's the center of the universe.
Parece me to my intro.
Penn State!
Did you grow that beard yourself? Is that natural?
No.
No? Good. Well, you would have had some serious hormone problems. Okay, do you guys think it's kind of messed up that Notre Dame's not in the conference?
They lost to Northern Illinois. Who the is Northern Illinois?
After we lost to Northern Illinois, we've won 11 games in a row. And 10 of those 11 were convincingly wins. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just that one that stands out. Do you think you should be allowed to compete for the national championship game if you've lost to Northern Illinois?
Well, they didn't lose to Notre Dame lost to Northern
That's
Illinois.
what I know. I was asking. Do you think they should be allowed to compete since they lost to Northern Illinois?
They did not. Notre Dame lost to Northern
That's
Illinois.
why I'm asking. You're not listening.
And that's why playoffs are at the end of the season and not at the beginning.
Do they get to be like, hey, we're national champions if Notre Dame wins the national championship?
They can say we're cousins with a national champion.
Whoever wins today should play for the national championship.
Well,
Absolutely.
they will.
Yeah.
The way the bracket is.
You confused me with the
set
question.
up. Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. I'm bad at this.
Oh, what's the name of your quarterback?
Riley Leonard.
Oh, is he good?
He runs it. He's great.
Runs it.
He's the
man.
best person ever. Come on.
Oh, he runs?
Half of your group is mute. You guys are just standing there. I love it. This is good. Would you rather play, if you win, Ohio State or Texas?
Either or, just get there.
Okay, that's not the. Once again, you guys are asking. You're answering questions I'm not asking. Okay, raise your hand for Texas. And raise your hand for Ohio State. Hell yeah. He speaks.
I'm from Northeast Philadelphia. I am white trash as it gets.
And are you here to see Oregon or Georgia?
Notre Dame.
Wait, Oregon is not playing?
No.
Where's Oregon?
How hot is Marcus Freeman?
Oh, extremely.
I'm a man, but I'm a man's man. He's a good-looking dude.
Great body.
Marcus Freeman is a great coach.
But like, how hot is he? Like a hottie? Like, he's a good-looking dude.
I don't know about that. He's a terrific. I'm going to talk about football. He's a terrific football coach.
I think he's like at least a 7.5.
Okay, what about James Franklin? Is he a hottie or no?
I think he's a great coach, but
I mean, he's not ugly. Have you ever heard the term like he aged like fine wine? Yeah. He's aging more like boxed wine.
ND!
We are.
Penn State.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We say we are ND at our stadium.
Don't you feel like they kind of own We Are? And you guys own dressing up like leprechauns? That's sort of the thing you all own?
We own them, so.
Okay. Oh, you see how you got it. Yeah, we're getting the heck out of here. It was a great game. It was a lot of fun, but I knew that we needed to wrap things up when early in the fourth quarter, Rose looked at me and said, I'm cheering for the Flying Irish. I said, what? So yeah, the Flying Irish. And I said, Rose, the Fighting Irish? She goes, oh, well, they go like this, so I thought they were the Flying Irish. And she had been cheering for the Flying Irish the whole day. She had already driven over the median. It's been a day, so we need to go. See you in Atlanta. And congrats, Jess.
This episode of Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I would like to ask the group if I will find everywhere in every city I go to in America, do you guys believe that I will find the home, an actual home like that anybody would live in, where you go for your insurance or your urgent care or your podiatrist or your dentist, or otherwise these are all over Miami. And
yeah, particularly around Bird Road.
All over Miami, you will find all of these places that provide goods in what are otherwise looking like normal residences that are just homes. And I'm wondering how common that is. Will I find that in every city in the United States? Will I find it in smaller cities in the United States? I have been to both a podiatrist and an urgent care that is just a home, so I'm not judging it. I'm just asking you how uncommon it is to have to get medical care in just like a normal home.
Let me speak for people who live in the greater Phoenix metropolitan area. Let me get this straight. You go walk it. You say, I got to go to urgent care. Like me. I busted my lip and my teeth and stuff. I got to go to urgent care. And you walk up to somebody's house?
Yes.
Yeah. They're former residential buildings that, as long as I've been alive.
It's all over
on
Miami.
Yeah, but particularly like if you drive down Bird Road, that stretch, on that road, you'll see what looks like your standard single-family home, and it's a dentist's office, it's a podiatrist, sometimes they're plastic surgery offices that look like your standard home.
It's a very weird thing. As someone who's moved down here, I do not trust it. And not only that, on the front of it, it doesn't say like Dan Le Batard's Premier Dentistry. It just says dentist.
Yeah.
It just says podiatrist.
Like it's the Old West, you know, when you go
Yes,
to the doctor, and then you just walk into this room right here, and there's a doctor right there, and you hit your head with the knee.
It makes me question things. I'm not from this culture, though, so I don't know. You guys have to give me that information. Where I'm from, that is not the case.
I'm asking the question because I'm ignorant, and everyone's always accusing me of, Dan thinks this thing that's in Miami is only Miami. Isn't he an idiot? I'm genuine, because I'm so scarred by the audience reacting that way. I'm telling you, Mike says Bird Road. These are all over Miami Beach, all over Miami.
South Broward.
I don't think this is unique to Miami. I really just think this is like it's a zoning thing. Like more residential looking buildings are zoned for commercial use, and then like a doctor moves into it.
Would you be like Hawk though, and show up in your Maybach, pull up and get
It's a
your
Lambo now. I've traded it out when we took the break.
to get your feet checked out, or your dentist, or get your teeth looked at? You guys, this would create a skepticism in anybody, correct? No matter what your earning power is or isn't, I imagine most people, when they want to go to a doctor, they want something that looks like a doctor's office.
I want to go to Office Park, right? And there's like suites, and there's a plastic surgery place right there, and there's my dentist, and there's like a chiropractor up there. And I go in there, and it's an office. It's clearly no one has ever lived in here. No one ever watched Family Feud in this room, like on a couch. I don't want that. I don't want anything where I feel like Parcheesi broke out one night when the whole family got together.
I got it.
I don't.
He's gonna keep doing it.
I know.
Well, I mean, you grew up in New York. Like,
yes.
This maybe is also an exception because it's an older city, but like, there's a lot of offices and doctors' offices and stuff in New York that were clearly in old buildings that people lived in, like in apartment buildings.
But they're all buildings. That's the difference. Like it's a
so this
building.
is like it has to be multi-story. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a weird distinction, but yes.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of units. Got to have lots of units.
Everything I'm talking about, these are absolutely one-story units that I don't trust. That I have, no matter how good your care is in there, I trust it less. So I shouldn't say I'm not judging. I do have less trust than if you simply gave me something that looked more like a traditional doctor's office.
When you described it, as soon as you were describing it, I didn't imagine a one-story. I imagined a multi-story, like the Brady's, and there's a staircase when you walk in, and that's what the exam room's up there. And over there where the kitchen is, where Alice or whatever her name, she's like doing the check-in and stuff. The triage is in the backyard where they threw the football.
None of that.
And it broke Jan Brady's nose. And
You're
going
to just keep doing the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
So no plaza, no one-story plaza, no mini mall for you then?
No, mini malls, yes. Mini malls, yes, because it is, again, nobody threw a football and hit Jan Brady's nose at a mini mall, right? At a strip mall. That's fine. Nobody had Thanksgiving dinner.
You're going to keep doing this. Nobody's dad walked to the bathroom with a towel around their waist. You're just going to keep doing things that happen in a home.
Exactly.
You're going to play Family Feud. Let's do that. Let's play top 5 things that you find in a home. I want to talk to Hawk here and get some football knowledge before it is that we leave for the day. But before I do that, something else that I want to talk about. We're going to have to proclaim the Ball family a success, right? In terms of succeeding, the things that the Balls do, because to see Angelo,
Jeremy doesn't buy it,
with a hit song, a legitimate hit song.
I do buy it. Mike pointed out in this back room, quote, and remember, Donald Trump saved that dude's life, and that's what made me roll my eyes.
We kept wondering, what's our return on this trade? What are we trading? We know we're getting back the worst Ball brother, and then he gave everybody a number 1 hit.
Number 1 hit.
It's great.
It is top tier. This is not fake, and I thought it was when I saw the conversation around it. I'm like, oh, everyone's just talking in jest, and it's like, oh, okay, we're all laughing at and not with. And then I heard the song, and it grew on me. It grew on me big time. LiAngelo Ball.
It definitely, like the first time I heard it was I saw a tweet that says LiAngelo Ball makes music that would fit in perfectly on Madden 2004.
Absolutely.
And I was like, and we played the clip, and they had like highlights from Madden and the bad graphics and stuff. And then like more and more, like there's these kids who are at a Hornets game, I think, and they walk or a Bulls game. They walk behind the bench and say, Lonzo, Lonzo, and then they play the song, and Lonzo Ball's like, yeah. And then more and more, and I'm like, it really does sound a lot like Manny Fresh from like
such a Manny Fresh song.
Like a Nelly and Cash Money.
Not just the production, but his voice and his flow. That's Manny Fresh. And now it's like, I can't stop singing it. And Dan, so Rolling Loud, which is a big music festival, Mike, you know all about it. They do one here, they do one in LA, or they do one in Europe. The Rolling Loud in LA, they announced their lineup, and I'm like, oh, cool. And my cousin's in there. Like, oh, that's awesome. And then I look and I'm like, Jello? Is that the Jello? He's in there, and he's not like one of the fine print people. He's high up on the list. And I asked my cousin, like, how's this possible? He said, he's got the hottest song in the country. And then one of our other friends who works in the music industry said, there's a bidding war going on right now for him to sign him to a deal. And they're literally saying, like, hold on, because they didn't imagine any of this would happen. They didn't imagine this kind of reaction.
Is LeVar Ball the best father ever?
He's 3 for 3.
How can you fake it?
He's 3 for 3.
He really is. And the one that you could hold against him, and we're wondering, really, should we enter this geopolitical situation? Number one hit.
I
do have an issue with him just strolling up and being a large font act. He's got one song.
It's a big
and he's
song,
going to play it like 17 times, and it's going to be people will eat it up. But that's what music is right now. You get to number one, you're a headliner essentially.
Well, it really starts on social media. They're targeting being a TikTok sound.
Yep.
Because once you become a TikTok sound, that's when your whole life changes. I talked about this with Vanessa Carlton.
A lot of lives going to be changing come January
19th. Yeah, we're not going to be TikTok sound.
You're still giving white chicks credit for Vanessa Carlton.
It was TikTok before TikTok.
She was on TRL.
It already was a huge song.
They used it because it was a huge song.
She's
We
about
did
to foreclose on her house.
We did the deep dive.
I told you guys. It was her agent said, "Have you picked up your phone? Like, what are you talking about?"
None of this is true.
What? Turn on the TV right now. It's like, what happened? It's like, this movie came out, and it's changed everything, and now she's a millionaire. Thank you, Wayans Brothers.
This is the fourth time we've done this on a
how it
Friday.
He's just making that how it happened, and it's not how it happened.
By the way, not the first hit song in the Ball family history.
Yes,
because before that, we had LeVar Ball, speaking about that geopolitical situation, was it Chris Cuomo? That he sang the thank you song.
Let's go. Play the song. Play the thank you song.
He got them shoes, and I tell you what, behind closed doors, I think he got them on his feet just dancing.
Are they?
And you know what song he's singing?
What song?
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That is not a real song.
That's what song he's singing.
That is not a song.
He just made one.
You made that up, and it is not a real song.
Hey, he got a new song. It's just for him.
I want to center this conversation. I don't like that we're making jokes about a number one hit song with LeVar Ball's clearly fake song. I'm with Cuomo on that.
What?
And we are taking away the attention, the notoriety that one of the best rappers in the culture, of any culture, has embraced with us.
The best thing that can happen is if Jello now samples this off the top of
and
his
makes it a
next
hit,
hit and then makes this a real song.
Featuring LeVar Ball. What father would you rather be, Archie Manning or LeVar Ball? Because listen, you have Peyton and Eli, super successful, but then you have Cooper. But then Cooper
gives you Arch.
You got Lonzo and Melo, clearly superstars. Melo, he was right about him since he was 8, which is crazy. And then you're like, but you have Jello, and everyone's kind of bringing him along. And now he might be the biggest rapper that L.A. has seen since Kendrick Lamar.
I just want to point out that you are really dismissing
the thank you song.
Yeah, because look, you're saying, oh, Jello made this awesome song. Guess where he got the talent from?
His mother.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mama wasn't doing
it. That is not a real song.
That's what song he's singing.
There is zero talent in that. Even
What?
that little bit of...
It is catchy as...
It's from the top of the dome.
How can you not call that catchy? You're going to be walking out of here. Someone's going to open the door for you. You're like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're going to be singing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It is definitely sampleable. I will say that.
It's a hit, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Dan, I want to say something because there was a time in this country when LeVar Ball was on TV everywhere. And life felt fun.
It did.
And then, like, LeVar said some things that were not quite appropriate, and definitely your drunk uncle at a cookout.
I don't think they were that crazy, if I remember correctly.
Some of the stuff
Some of them. Some of it.
I missed it.
Some of it was out of. Some of it you
Out
would
of
say
pocket.
was
Okay.
It was out of
All right,
pocket,
all right.
out of pocket. But again, not a crime. Not a crime. And then there was this massive backlash. You can't platform LeVar Ball. And I said, guys, you're not platforming him. We're not taking him seriously. And that's when everything got super serious. And then the pandemic happened. And I'd say this. I submit to you. If we kept LeVar Ball on TV, we would have never had a pandemic.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's what we would have been singing to him.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. If we had kept LeVar Ball on television, would we have avoided the pandemic? I want to discuss for a second what we can and can't platform, because I'd like to get to what Dave Portnoy had to say about me as he tries to launder John Gruden over there and then calls me the jackass. But the first thing that I want to do is point out that Mike Ryan right now, and Mike Ryan occasionally does this in adulthood. I don't know whether he's got an important meeting or a family event or something, but there is something that Mike Ryan does that when he goes formal with the casual wear, he can be accused of having a bit of a Mr. Rogers vibe with the sweater. And when from that sweater emerges some form of Jell-O is not a large font act, I get disoriented by your festival knowledge because of how it is that you're dressed. So can you explain to me either what you have going on later or when it is that this attire gets broken out? Because it's not just the regular winter wear we're all going in and getting some of the stuff in the back of our closet. No, you got the slacks working and a
I've
whole...
lost some weight.
You got a whole thing going on.
There was like 80% of my closet that I couldn't use, and then I've lost some weight, and now I think I look good. I do have a meeting after the show, very important people that I'm meeting with to do good for the community, and I wanted to dress the part.
He's got a name. He's got a name. If he said very important people, and then he starts
got to name the person.
If he just says very important people, because it might not be anybody important.
I've been name dropping this entire show.
Well, Dan,
I'll
might be meeting with Diaz Balart later today.
I've been lying on this show with name drops.
The two sweets.
I tried to earn Jess a look at me, Louis. She wasn't as proud of it as I am. I thought this was a badge of honor.
It's just not something that you can come in here as a bit of a newbie and start pointing around and demanding the firing off of sounds at your behest. It's got to be earned. That stuff's got to be earned, and it's not just earned by having the money to drive in a Maybach.
Is this your way of telling me I look handsome?
I think that was a backhanded compliment.
I don't know. Jessica, help me with, is it formal casual wear? Like what is this look that Mike Ryan is? I'm not even mocking it. I'm just saying it's an unusual for Mike Ryan look, and it makes me usually think that he's got some sort of meeting after the show whenever he breaks out one of these casual formal sweaters.
I would describe it as guy in a button-down with a sweater on.
Well, I would describe it as Jim Tressel on a cold day.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
It's a normal
outfit. Thank you.
Okay, if you say so. It's just, it doesn't seem normal for him. It's not something he wears every day.
Usually I have much larger boobs.
I mean, it's a great looking outfit. You look great. You've been working out.
You look great too.
Your
man.
work is showing off. It's not an outfit that you would expect someone to have an opinion on who has the big font for Rolling Loud.
Thank you.
I think that's.
Thank
you.
Don't try to put me in. Don't try to put me in a box.
Super catchy.
It is
no,
catchy.
You're right.
Why y'all denying
Thank you.
Why have we not played Jello's actual song?
No, because this is.
We can't. We're trying to monetize this episode on YouTube.
There are rights issues.
Okay.
In fact, I'm
scared
sorry.
of the big baller brand lawyers.
I'm
get it.
sorry I have to do this to you.
Okay.
Uh-oh. We've got a major penalty, 5 minutes. Derailing.
Can't mess with the money.
Derailing? I thought we were on topic.
But you can't mess with the money. You got to be careful.
We need a new penalty when you're messing with the money. A messing with the money penalty.
Well, and also he's having some trouble. Like this is not a clumsy human being, but he is having trouble with his pen, with his equipment, with a little bit of everything.
Maximum touching of things right now.
I'm gonna go call
Tyrone.
Thomas, a Hall of Famer. Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog Russo.
Okay.
Those are just a couple of friends that I like to hang out with when I'm in penalty boxes.
It's just charity. You should be embarrassed by that. That was a pity look at me, Louie. because you were needy in here and you were desperate and you were praying for a look at me, Louie, and I want to make you feel like you're included. Are you saying, Mike Ryan, that LiAngelo Ball is better than the new Bad Bunny? Is that what you're alleging?
No, not at all. That's a 5-star banger. Bad Bunny came out and he decided, you know what? Let me just put on an album that has like a couple classic merengue songs in there. A lot of it sounds like music from my childhood, and it's a return to, from 2 albums ago, really ambitious producing where there's so many juxtapositions within one song. I think Bad Bunny's an artist for all time, quite honestly. That's an album you don't even need to understand the language to understand the ambition in the production. I think the world of Bad Bunny. I think he's a transcendent artist. We've only scratched the surface of what he's capable of, both within music and outside of music. And I listened to that album from the very first rotation. I'm like, this might be his second best album ever. And that's rare on first rotation that you know you're listening to something special. Earworm after earworm. This guy is so special.
What are the things in his, outside of his music catalog, outside of wrestling, that makes you say that he is special at everything?
I think he can also, look, if you can do what he did from the jump in the entertainment realm inside of professional wrestling, where he's English at the time, his English has gotten a lot better, was not his first language, and you're essentially forcing this on a viewing audience that isn't that familiar with him. And for him to get over on his merit, on his charm, and his in-ring ability, I think that can apply to all sorts of entertainment sectors. I think he can probably, if he really focuses his energy, become a major movie star. I think he's that charismatic. I think he's that likable too. Look, when you get to that size of superstardom, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, granted, usually more reserved for women, but also men, singular artists, don't really reach those levels. Drake does, and everyone's got something to say about Drake. Bad Bunny, consensus? What is there to hold against him? Like, his Q rating's outstanding. No one has an issue with this guy. It's rare.
Put it on the poll. Is Bad Bunny an artist for all time?
Yo, wasn't Bad Bunny the one that right in the early of 2020 went to a Heat game and he drank some water?
At the pandemic.
Yeah, and then
he did the Triple H and he spat water everywhere, and we're like, should we be doing this?
Everybody lost their mind.
And remember, for a full year, Bad Bunny was wearing a mask before the pandemic. And as the pandemic's about to, we're like, now's when you take off the mask?
Amin is saying, what a time. This happened just after we sent LeVar Ball off of television, and then the pandemic swept over the land, which never would have happened if we hadn't done that. I feel
Thank you.
I feel like I've lost Jessica. She has been, I just feel like she's just snorting Notre Dame football highlights.
I don't think you want to talk about the game anymore.
She's watching the All-22 right now, Dan.
I moved on to the All-22.
I looked at the iPad. There is a huge photo of Marcus Freeman on it.
It's Coach's birthday, actually.
No way!
Happy birthday, Marcus Freeman. At the stroke of midnight last night as he was throwing oranges on the field. He turned 39.
Jessica, you earned this, okay? So
I agree, but you told me to stop, so I'll stop.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm coming back to you right now.
The college football game that was 15 miles away last night.
I'm coming
back
to you right now.
Semifinal that my alma mater played in. Okay.
I'm taking the entire story to its natural conclusion, which will soon end in defeat, and we will all laugh at you.
That's fine.
That's correct.
Hey, better than losing the Pop-Tart Bowl.
That's right.
I'm psyched.
Whoa, why did I catch a stray?
Hey, man.
By the way, we're going to kick your
Yeah,
ass
Dan.
week 1. Kick your ass. I feel so great about it.
Sure, I don't care. I'm happy. I don't care.
You should
Great
be happy.
season.
Especially after you see our quarterback.
This is the time to be happy.
Hope
but
his elbow's okay.
You earned that victory because, for those of you who do not know, it's not just that you have taken, that you haven't felt well recently, and then that game for 4 quarters was also an agitation to your system. You went to New Orleans. You wanted to follow the Notre Dame football team around. Obviously, awful happens in New Orleans. The game gets postponed by a day. You don't even stay for the game. So yesterday ranks where in terms of your all-time sporting moments at an event where you're in the middle of something and you get the joyous feeling at the end?
It's definitely a top 5 in person, maybe top 3 in person game. But yeah, I unfortunately I wasn't able to stay for the Sugar Bowl. I wish I could have, but it was we just couldn't change our flights. It was a whole mess. But the Indiana game in the first round, which, again, going back to something we talked about on Monday, like, it's a bummer that the narrative around that game was like, oh, man, Indiana sucks. Like, they're so stupid and bad. That game was awesome, too. Like, that was a great game. So I'd say maybe those are 1 and 2, and there's a number of Notre Dame games I've been to
You're on the
in
cusp.
the regular season that come close, but, yeah, last night was awesome.
You're on the cusp of the greatest season of your life, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think it already is. Like, I think winning the Sugar Bowl, beating the SEC champion in the Sugar Bowl was the best.
I'm not saying Notre Dame,
Dame.
Jess. I'm saying everything. I'm saying
no. The Steelers have won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. Those
will feel better.
Pretty great. Yeah, and the Cubs winning the World Series was one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah. Blackhawks.
I feel very lucky as a sports fan, even though the Chicago sports in general are a dumpster fire. Thank God my mom's from Pittsburgh. Yeah, like in terms of Notre Dame seasons, which is why I want to give credit to Marcus Freeman. Honestly, I don't think you can say enough about what he's done for this team. And I've watched Notre Dame teams like this that have had great players and been great not be able to pull it out in those spots. And that's why I was trying to make the comparison between James Franklin and Brian Kelly. I think they have a lot of similarities. I think they both should get credit for being great coaches, but until they win that big game, that is always going to be the knock against them. And I think where the difference is for Marcus Freeman is that I don't think Notre Dame was in the playing the best game of their season last night. They certainly didn't look like the same team that I watched last week and the week before in the playoffs. But he coaches this team to the next level, and every single player is bought into him and to the program. And I think he should be the topic of conversation today. It shouldn't just be about James Franklin blowing another game against a top 5 team. It should be about the fact that Marcus Freeman has already accomplished more in 3 seasons at Notre Dame than Brian Kelly or any of the coaches in the last 3 decades were able to do in multiple seasons. So I have to just say happy birthday to Marcus Freeman, man. I hope he enjoys it.
Jessica, when you talk about the Sugar Bowl, you couldn't go to the game because you couldn't switch your flights. But you had tickets to the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you have stayed if you didn't have tickets to the game, but you could switch your flights?
Well, no, that would have been weird.
See, okay, so
I don't get that.
The Giants Super Bowl, the one that they beat Brady with the catch
Tyree.
on the helmet and all that, right? I was in Phoenix, so we were outside the stadium watching it there, and let me tell you, that's the greatest vibe ever because you didn't pay $1 and you're getting all the energy and all the shit talk.
Okay.
I'm just saying that you should do that. I don't know. I mean,
you should have went to the Sugar Bowl.
I want to take everybody through what just happened. Like Amin thought that was the way to punctuate the segment. Spent the time before this asking me, "Do we have enough time for me to get this off?"
No.
Taking notes.
This is what I was saying.
He texted to me to workshop some things.
No. Hold on. This is what I was asking. I asked a question behind the scenes. I asked a question, how much time do we have? Because I'm looking at the clock rundown. And I wanted this to be a conversation about, are you guys cool with experiencing something even if you don't have tickets to it? And I thought it'd be a cool conversation about, oh, yeah, I remember one time I went to this game. Instead, you guys made it like, oh, that was a means punctuation. I don't like when you do that, Dan Le Batard. I do enough things here that you can mock me about.
You asked Jessica a question. She gave you nothing as a response. The segment was over. We had nothing to punctuate the segment. How are you yelling at me about this?
Because I didn't want to punctuate the segment.
You asked to end the show the way that you ended the show.
I didn't ask to end the show. That was the whole point of me asking.
As a former NFL player, I usually am playing in those games.